The city of Seoul has teeth. It bites the weak. In a small old cafe in a dark alley, Olaedo washed a cup. Her hands were shaking, not from the cold, but from fear. The customer sitting in the corner was not a normal man. The cafe was usually noisy, but when he walked in, everyone stopped eating. Everyone stopped talking. 3 customers paid quickly and ran out the back door. His name was Kang Ji-won. They called him the Shadow. He did not carry a gun. He did not need one. His eyes were enough to stop a heart from beating. He sat alone. He stared at the empty chair opposite him. He looked like a king without a kingdom. Olaedo took a deep breath. She was terrified. In her village in Africa, she learned to be brave. But this man, he smelled like blood and expensive cologne. She walked to his table. Her legs felt like jelly. "Order," she whispered. Her voice was small. Ji-won turned his head slowly. His eyes were black ice. He looked at her dirty apron. He looked at her brown skin. He looked at her shaking hands. He did not speak. He just tapped the table once with his finger. Tap. It meant tea. Olaedo hurried away. She made the tea. She spilled a little water because she was so nervous. She wiped it quickly. She brought the cup back. "Here is your tea, sir." Ji-won looked at the cup. There was a tiny drop of water on the saucer. Just one drop. He looked up at Olaedo. "Dirty," he said. His voice was deep and terrifying. I am sorry," Olaedo stammered. "I will clean it." "No," Ji-won said. "You are careless. Careless people cause accidents." He stood up. He towered over her. Olaedo wanted to run. She wanted to scream, but she stood still. She did not bow. She looked at his chin, refusing to look down. "Look at me," Ji-won commanded. Olaedo looked into his scary eyes. "You are brave," Ji-won said coldly, "or you are stupid." He turned and walked away. He did not pay. Nobody asked him to pay. The next morning, the nightmare began. Olaedo arrived at the cafe at 5 a.m. The door was broken. The glass was shattered on the floor. Her boss, Mr. Kim, was on his knees. 2 men in black suits were standing over him. One man held a heavy stick. "Please," Mr. Kim cried, "I paid the debt." The man raised the stick. "Stop," Olaedo screamed. She dropped her bag and ran forward. She stood in front of Mr. Kim. "Leave him alone." The men stopped. They looked at the door. Chairman Kang Ji-won walked in. He stepped over the broken glass. He looked perfect. Clean suit, cold face. "The girl," Ji-won said calmly. The men grabbed Olaedo. They dragged her to him. She kicked and fought, but they were too strong. "Let me go," she cried. Ji-won looked at her face. He saw the fear. He liked it. "You have a debt, Olaedo," Ji-won said. "You served me dirty tea." "It was a drop of water," Olaedo yelled. Tears filled her eyes. She was so scared, but she was angry. "In my world, a mistake costs a life," Ji-won said. He looked at the man with the stick. "Break the old man's shop. Burn it." "No," Olaedo screamed. "No, please, he is innocent." Ji-won looked at her. "Then pay the price." "What price? I have no money." "Your time," Ji-won said. "Every morning, 6 a.m., my house. You will serve me properly. You will learn discipline." Olaedo trembled. "And if I refuse?" Ji-won nodded to the man with the stick. The man raised it high over Mr. Kim's head. "I will do it," Olaedo cried out. "I will do it." Ji-won raised a hand. The man lowered the stick. "Good," Ji-won whispered. "Don't be late." The mansion was a prison. It was cold and silent. Every morning at 6 a.m., Olaedo stood by the massive desk. Ji-won did not speak to her. He treated her like furniture. He read his papers. He made phone calls ordering men to be hurt, businesses to be ruined. He let her hear his cruelty. He wanted to break her. He wanted to see her beg. Olaedo made the tea perfectly. She stood straight. Her back hurt. Her legs shook. But she never bowed. She never said master. She only said sir. This made Jiwon angry. It also made him obsessed. One morning, the tea was too hot. Jiwon took a sip and slammed the cup down. It shattered. Hot tea burned Olaedo's hand. She gasped, holding her hand. Clumsy, Jiwon spat. It was your hand that shook the cup, she said through her teeth. She was in pain. Jiwon stood up. He walked around the desk. He backed her against the wall. He was so close she could feel his cold breath. You think you are strong, Jiwon whispered. You are nothing. I can crush you like an ant. He treated her like a machine. He wanted to break her spirit. He wanted to see her cry. But Olaedo did not cry. She was an African woman. She came from strong people. She stood straight. She looked him in the eye and she whispered, "Then crush me. I am tired of being afraid." Jiwon stared. He raised his hand. Olaedo flinched, closing her eyes, expecting a hit. He did not hit her. He touched a lock of her hair. His fingers were shaking. He pulled away quickly, as if she was fire. "Clean this mess," he ordered, and he left the room. The pressure grew. Jiwon's enemies were circling. He was becoming more violent, more stressed.
One morning, the atmosphere in the room was heavy. Jiwon was on the phone. He was shouting, "Kill them all. I don't care," he roared. He threw the phone against the wall. He turned to Olaedo. He looked like a demon. "Tea," he growled. Olaedo poured, but her hand shook too much. The teapot clattered against the cup. Clink. The noise was loud in the silence. Jiwon grabbed her wrist. His grip was painful. "Are you mocking me?" he hissed. "No, sir. I am scared," Olaedo whispered. "You should be." Suddenly, the door burst open. Manager Park ran in. "Chairman, we found out who leaked the information. It was the cafe owner, Old Man Kim." Olaedo's blood went cold. "No, that is a lie." Jiwon looked at Manager Park. "Bring him to me. I will cut off his fingers myself." "No!" Olaedo grabbed Jiwon's arm. "He knows nothing. Please, do not hurt him." Jiwon looked at her hand on his arm. He threw her off. She fell to the floor. "He betrayed me. He dies." Jiwon pulled a gun from his drawer. He began to walk to the door. Olaedo knew this was the end. Mr. Kim was like a father to her. She could not let him die. Her pride did not matter anymore. Her dignity did not matter. "Chairman!" Olaedo screamed. She crawled on the floor. She moved in front of him. Slowly, painfully, Olaedo lowered her head. She put her hands on the cold floor. She pressed her forehead to the ground. She bowed. It was a deep, full bow of submission. "Please," she sobbed into the floor. "I beg you, take my life instead. Spare him. Please, master." The room went completely silent. Jiwon stopped. He looked down. The girl who never broke, the girl who stood tall against monsters, the girl who looked him in the eye when killers looked away, she was broken because of him. Jiwon looked at her trembling back. He felt a sharp pain in his chest. It felt like his heart was cracking open. He dropped the gun. He knelt down. He touched her shoulder. "Get up," he whispered. His voice was not cold anymore. It was shaking. Olaedo did not move. She kept bowing. "Please, spare him." "I said get up," Jiwon yelled, but there was panic in his voice. He pulled her up. He held her face in his hands. She was crying uncontrollably. She looked terrified of him. "Stop looking at me like that," Jiwon said. "Stop it." "You are a monster," Olaedo shaking. "Yes," Jiwon admitted, "I am." I wiped her tears with his thumb. The great ruthless chairman Kang was on his knees, wiping the tears of a waitress. "I will not touch him," Jiwon vowed. "I promise." "Stand up, Olaedo. Never bow to me again. Never." Weeks passed. The punishment changed. It became quiet time. Olaedo still came at 6 a.m., but now Jiwon did not send her away immediately. He would ask, "What is that song you are humming?" She would answer, "It is a song my mother sings while cooking." He would ask, "What do you eat in Nigeria?" She told him about jollof rice, about spicy soup, about dancing at weddings. Jiwon listened. He never smiled, but his eyes softened. He stopped shouting at his men when Olaedo was in the room. It was a Friday. It was snowing heavily. Olaedo arrived wet and shivering. She sneezed. She tried to hide it, but she was very cold. Her coat was too thin for the Korean winter. She made the tea. She placed it on his desk. Jiwon looked at the tea. Then he looked at her wet shoes. He looked at her shivering hands. "Sit," Jiwon commanded. Olaedo paused. "Sir?" "Sit down," he said, pointing to the chair opposite him. "I am the server," Olaedo said. "I stand." Jiwon slammed his hand on the table. "Sit." Olaedo sat quickly. She was terrified. Jiwon stood up. He walked to a heater in the corner and turned it up. The room got warmer. He walked to a closet and pulled out a clean, dry towel. He threw it at her. "Dry your hair. You are dripping on my floor." It was a lie. He did not care about the floor. Olaedo took the towel. It smelled like expensive wood and lemons. She dried her hair. "Thank you." Jiwon sat back down. He drank his tea. He looked at her over the cup. "Where are you from?" he asked. It was the first time he asked a personal question. "Nigeria, from the Igbo tribe, a village near the river. Is it warm there?" "Very warm," Olaedo smiled. A small, sad smile. "The sun kisses your skin there. Here, the wind bites it." Jiwon looked at the window. "I have never felt warmth," he said softly. Olaedo looked at him. For the first time, she did not see a monster. She saw a man who lived in a stone box, alone. "Warmth is not just the sun," Olaedo said. "It is family. It is friends. It is kindness." Jiwon scoffed. "Kindness gets you killed in my world. Then your world is sad." Olaedo stopped drinking. He looked at her. He waited for the anger to come, but it did not come. Instead, he felt something strange in his chest, a little thump. He didn't know how to be kind. He was awkward. He brought her a gift, a warm coat. He threw it at her. "Wear this, you look cold." He brought her food. "Eat, you are too thin." Olaedo was still scared, but she saw the change. The monster was trying to be a man. One quiet morning, while the snow fell outside, Jiwon looked at her. "Why do you stay?" I asked. "I threatened you. I scared you." "Because," Olaedo said softly, looking at his scarred hands, "I think you are just a lonely boy in a big castle." Jiwon closed his eyes. He leaned his head back against the chair. "I am tired, Olaedo. I am so tired of the darkness." Olaedo reached out. For the first time, she touched him without fear. She placed her hand on his hand. "Then, let the morning come," she said. Jiwon turned his hand and laced his fingers with hers. He held on tight, like a drowning man holding a rope. One morning, Olaedo came in with a bruise on her arm. Jiwon saw it immediately. The air in the room turned ice cold. He stood up slowly. He walked around the desk. He took her arm gently. His fingers were long and cool. "Who?" Jiwon asked. One word, but it was heavy with death. "It is nothing," Olaedo pulled her arm back. "Just trouble at the market. Some men, they want money for protection." Jiwon's jaw tightened. "Did they touch you?" "They pushed me. I didn't have the money." Jiwon let her go. He walked to his phone. He dialed the number. "Manager Park," Jiwon said. "The market on 4th Street. Clean it up, now." He hung up. He looked at Olaedo. "They will never touch you again." Olaedo looked at him. "You do not have to do that." "You belong to me," Jiwon said. Then he stopped. He realized what he said. "I mean, you serve me. No one touches what is mine." Olaedo's heart beat very fast. She saw the dangerous fire in his eyes, but this time, the fire was protecting her. The iron serpents were confused. Why was the boss leaving meetings early? Why was he buying fresh flowers for the hallway? Why did he fire the guard who yelled at the African girl? Rumors started to spread. The feared Kang Ji-won had a weakness. But the world of the Iron Serpent does not allow peace.
Rival gangs saw Jiwon's softness. They saw the African girl leaving his house every morning. They saw the target. One day, on a rainy Tuesday, Olaedo did not come at 6 a.m. Jiwon waited. 6:05, 6:10. He stood up. He paced the room. 6:15. He called his driver. Get the car. Where to, sir? The cafe. When Jiwon arrived at the cafe, it was closed. The windows were broken. Jiwon felt a fear he had never felt before. Not when guns were pointed at him. Not when he was in prison. This was true fear. His phone rang. It was a number he did not know. Hello, Kang, a voice laughed. It was Viper, the leader of a rival gang. We have a guest. She is very pretty. She tells great stories about Africa. Jiwon's hand crushed the phone. If you scratch her skin, Jiwon whispered, I will burn your entire city down. Come to the old warehouse at the docks, alone, or she dies. Jiwon drove alone. He drove fast. He arrived at the warehouse. It was dark and smelled like rust. He walked in. Viper and 10 men stood there with baseball bats and knives. Olaedo was tied to a chair in the middle. She was crying. Her lip was bleeding. When she saw Jiwon, she screamed through the gag, Run! Jiwon did not run. He took off his coat. He rolled up his sleeves. He looked at the 10 men. Let her go, Jiwon said. Kneel, Viper said. The great Kang Jiwon, kneel and beg. Jiwon looked at Olaedo. He looked at the fear in her eyes. Slowly, the king of Seoul, the man who never bowed, lowered his knees to the dirty floor. Olaedo sobbed, No! Let her go again, Jiwon said. Viper laughed. Get him. The men attacked. It was chaos. Jiwon fought like a tiger. He was fast and brutal. But there were too many of them. He took a hit to the back, a hit to the head. He fell, but he got up. He always got up. He fought until his knuckles were broken. He fought until the men were on the ground, groaning in pain. Viper tried to run, but Jiwon caught him. I told you, do not touch her. Jiwon finished the fight. He walked over to Olaedo. His hands were bloody, so he used his wrists to untie her. As soon as she was free, she hugged him. She buried her face in his chest. She did not care about the blood. Jiwon froze. Then, for the first time in his life, he hugged her back. He held her tight. He buried her face in her hair. I am sorry, he whispered in Korean. I am so sorry I brought this into your life. He pulled her into his arms. He held her on the rainy street, and all of a sudden, Olaedo fainted. The police sirens were coming. The ambulance was coming. Jiwon looked at her blood on his shirt. He realized the truth. As long as she was near him, she would bleed. His love was a curse. He visited her in the hospital. She was sleeping. He stood by the bed. He looked at her peaceful face. He wanted to kiss her. He wanted to stay with her forever. But he loved her too much to keep her. He left a letter on the table and a plane ticket. Go back to the sun. Do not stay in the dark with me. When Olaedo woke up, he was gone. 5 years later, Lagos, Nigeria. The sun was hot and beautiful. Olaedo walked into her large bakery. It was busy. She was successful. She was safe. But she never married. Her heart was left in a cold city far away. She was closing the shop when a customer walked in. We are closed, she said, wiping the counter. Even for an old friend, a voice asked. Olaedo dropped the cloth. She turned around slowly. A man stood there. He wore a simple white shirt. No suit, no expensive watch. He looked older. He had more scars. But his eyes were clear. The ice had melted. It was Jiwon. He did not look like a king anymore. He looked like a man who had walked a long way to find something precious. He held a small box in his hands. Tea leaves. I practiced. I learned how to make tea. I don't spill it anymore. Olaedo's heart filled with tears. You are here, in the heat. You hate the heat. I was cold for too long, Jiwon said. He took a step forward. He looked nervous. The man that scared Seoul was nervous in front of her. I dismantled the syndicate. I went to prison for 3 years. I paid for my sins. I am free now. I am nothing. I have no money. I have no power. He stopped. He looked at her with pure devotion. But I have my heart, and it has been yours since the moment you refused to bow. Olaedo walked around the counter. She stood in front of him. You are late, she smiled through her tears. Better late than never, Jiwon whispered. This time, nobody bowed. Jiwon went down on one knee, not to beg, not to submit, but to propose. Will you teach me how to live in the sun? Olaedo pulled him up. She kissed him, and for the first time, Kang Jiwon felt warm. Even in the darkest places, courage and integrity can inspire change. Olaedo returned to her life in the sun, successful, brave, and free. But her heart carried the warmth of a love that changed a monster into a man. Sometimes, the greatest battles we fight are not with fists, but with courage, patience, and the quiet strength of standing tall when fear tries to break us. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, do well to subscribe, like, share, leave a comment, and stay tuned for another thrilling story. Until next time, stay true to yourself.